seems like when we come to church, there are many people who do, as the old folks would say, they say one thing with their mouth and their actions show another. You know, we have those folks in our families, those who say, I love you, I'm going to be there for you, but when trouble rises, they are never there. We have those people in our schools, young people that'll tell you they're your homegirl, they're your homeboy, you're your buddies, y'all going to ride or die to the end. They're going to be with you till the end, ride or die. But I promise you, some older saints can agree with me and tell you, when you need them the most, they ain't going to be nowhere to be found. We have a lot of people that are hypocrites, even in the church, because they will tell you that they love you and God loves you, but as soon as you make a mistake in life, they pointing the finger at you, they judging you, calling you everything but a child of God, and they supposed to know God for themselves. So we want to deal with the handicaps of hypocritical holiness. In an introduction to this text, this synoptic gospel, the 40th book of the Bible, containing 28 chapters, 1,071 verses, and 23,684 words, was penned about 37 AD from that country of Judea by Matthew, Levi, that former tax collector and publican who was converted into a disciple by Christ on the road to Capernaum. We know what happened to Matthew. Matthew was the tax collector. He was the man doing the wrong thing, and he was originally a member of the church. He was a Jew, and by that time, Jews had been taken over by Romans, so he was there working for the Romans. So because he was working for the enemy, the church folk, the Pharisees, the leaders of the church, the pastors, the preachers, the teachers, the deacons, the elders, they excommunicated him and other Jews from the church because they were doing the wrong thing, because they made mistakes in life. You know, we got some folk like that sit in church looking at you down their long religious noses as if they have never sinned a day in their life. They have been born, they have sat on the same pew for 37 years, can't nobody tell them nothing. They have never sinned. You do all your mess, you smoke, you drink, you go to the club, but yet they have never sinned. They want to tell you how to raise your child, but yet their child is still not in the streets. They want to tell you how to build your house, yet their house has been hell-bound since the day it came into existence. These are the people that we have in church. Are y'all praying with me? Some of y'all ain't gonna like me for the end, but listen, I didn't come for likes. Instagram, Facebook is for likes. I got a church where I can go back to just in case y'all run me out of Jackson. Listen, we're gonna talk about the handicaps of hypocritical holiness. Is that all right? But listen, we want to talk about this because Matthew, the sinner, the tax collector, the publican, because he was judged by the Pharisees. Remember, Jesus had just made the lame man walk, and here he is walking down the road. If you could picture with me, he's walking down Martin Luther King, and on the road he sees somebody sitting by the road to compare and to take their taxes. And the Pharisees, the church folk, says, listen, Jesus, listen, good teacher, you don't want to have any dealings with them type of folk. Listen, he ain't no good. He's a stinking vermin. He ought to be headed straight for hell. You know, we got folks like that now that will send you to hell like they got a heaven or a hell to put you in. And last time I checked, they was the first ones in the gate of hell when it opened. I'm sorry. I told y'all ain't gonna like me.
My Lord.
But listen, in the contextual and pretextual perspective of this text, Matthew records Jesus teaching on philanthropy and teaching on prayer in this long discourse that he makes as we are teaching in our subject for this week, known as the Sermon on the Mount. You remember Jesus went up to the mountain and he began teaching and preaching, but he did mostly teaching before he went back down with the multitude behind him to finish the ministry. He had to teach them so that when he went up to Calvary Hill and when he died and ascended into heaven, he wouldn't be the end of the church. Listen, that's what's wrong with the church of today, because we are not doing any teaching, we're just doing preaching, and when the preacher has left town, the church seems like it's going to hell. Seems like when deacons and grandmama and them, when they die out, the church is going to die because nobody did any teaching while we were there. So when the pioneers, the matriarchs, the patriarchs, when they're gone away, where is the church going to go? That needs to be a question that you're asking yourself. Listen, where is Cornerstone going to go when Dr. Williams leaves this town? When he leaves this whole world, where is Cornerstone headed? When the mothers and the elders leave this town, when they leave to go be with the Father in heaven, where is Cornerstone headed?
This is good.
So here Jesus discusses the judgment on improper motives and reasons behind prayer and philanthropy. We know what philanthropy is. Philanthropy is the giving alms or giving goods to the poor. And the problem with improper motives is simply that we do things in the church now for the wrong reasons. Seems like even in society now we do things for the wrong reason. I was just on Google looking up a lot of different people like the famous Bill Gates, the world famous maker of all these things, and he said in his resume that he was a billionaire, genius, and philanthropist. Maybe the problem with the church is that we have to say that we're Christians instead of it showing that we are Christians. That's the problem with improper motives, is we want to do things out of the wrong reason. Listen, if somebody had to correct you and they came at you cussing and hollering, fussing at you, you wouldn't want to listen to it because they came about it the wrong way. Well, maybe that's how we do in church. We are doing things out of the wrong way and think just because we're doing it, it's all right. But a lot of times it's not what we say, it's how we say it. It's the motive that God judges. It's the heart out of it that God judges. But here, Jesus is teaching on the handicaps of hypocritical holiness. The devil is a lie. But before we can teach on these three handicaps, we have to know what handicap means. If you go to the store, you will see there are a few parking spaces with a blue sign and a white wheelchair and somebody sitting in it, signifying that they can't walk or function like everyone else. Handicap simply means it enables you or disables you to be able to function properly. Your legs cannot work. If you are handicapped, if you are in a wheelchair, you cannot work. If you are blind, you have a handicap of your eyes because you cannot see properly. If you are deaf, your ears are handicapped because they cannot hear properly. But if you are a hypocrite, your spiritual life is handicapped because you are not living properly.
Wow.
So we're talking about handicaps, but we have to also know what a hypocrite is. A hypocrite is one person that says one thing and does another. One hypocrite is simply you're one that is living a lifestyle of a lie. Then we have to also know what holiness is. Holiness is simply being righteous or being in the mirror image of God. Handicaps to lying about looking like God.
Preacher.
Are y'all praying with me? I'm going to give you three of them and I'm going to get out your way. The first handicap of hypocritical holiness we see is that in verse 1 and 2 it says, take heed that you don't do your good deeds, I'm paraphrasing, before men just so they can look at you and see you. Otherwise, the only reward you will have is them looking at you. The only reward you will have is them talking about you. And Jesus, or God the Father, which is in heaven, will have nothing for you when you get to him. Then it says, therefore, or otherwise, therefore literally means it's going to tell you what that verse before it was therefore. Therefore, when you do as your good deeds, don't sound the trumpet before you. Don't holler out, listen, I'm finna go down to the Salvation Army and lay some clothes down. Don't holler out, I'm finna go to the Goodwill or the food pantry. I'm finna go donate some stuff. There's no need in hollering out, listen what I'm doing for you. But then it says, don't do that like the hypocrites do in the church or in the streets that they may have glory from men. In other words, that men may speak highly of them, men may praise them. But it says, verily I say unto you, they have their reward already. So the first thing, the first handicap I want to talk about, if you can go with me, is compensation without calculation. Compensation without calculation. Somebody shout compensation.
Compensation.
There you go. Talk back to me. Compensation, or mistapodosia in Greek, is the payment of the value or the price of something. It simply means that when you compensate for something, you are paying what it's worth.
That's right.
When you go to a car dealership, we're in Jackson, so when you go to Heron Gill, when you go to Patty Peck, you tell them you want this car. And they tell you the car costs $30,000. And then you go and you give them the check, or you give them your money and you pay the $30,000 for that automobile that you love. And then you start the car, sit down in it and put it in drive. Automatically, if you drive in reverse, put it back in park, walk back in the dealership, tell him you don't want it no more, he's going to tell you, listen, I'm going to give you $27,000 instead of $30, because the car depreciates its value when you touch it.
Yeah.
In other words, what you are literally doing is you are paying something without actually calculating how much it's worth. You're paying $30,000 for a car that's only worth $27,000, because at the dealerships they have what is considered something called interest, which means they have to take something extra on top of it to make themselves benefit from it. Simply what Jesus is saying in this text is he's saying, listen, when you do things and you give to the poor just to be seen of men, all you're doing is overcharging for your good deeds because you want to benefit instead of making other folks benefit. That's what hypocrites do. They're too worried about themselves and not worried enough about others. But see, we have to be careful. Listen, you need to ask your neighbor this: are you doing things out of spirit or a show? Spirit or a show. What I mean by spirit or show is we have to do things out of the right spirit, out of the right heart, out of the right motive when we're in church, and not for a show. You know, a lot of churches do things for a show. Okay, let me sit down and walk with you. I went to this church one time, and they told me that there was a lot of hell going on at the church before I got there. But yet, when I got there, they greeted me with a smile. Hey, Reb, how you doing? You need anything? God bless you, God bless you. Can we get you something to eat? And just as soon as I left, they was back to the hell that they was in before. They were doing something out of a show because a guest was coming. You know, we do have folks that'll show up when guests come. Or when the church goes somewhere, here they come. Oh, y'all don't like that. Y'all sanctified. Okay, let me make y'all laugh then. You know, roaches don't come out till you got company. Soon as you got company, here they go, right? Walking right in front of the TV. Hey, how y'all doing? And then they go right back where they go. Soon as we got some roaches and hypocrites in the church that'll never show up until something is going on where they can make a show or a spectacle out of themselves.
That's good.
So we see first the handicap is compensation without calculation. But I'm so glad that in the compensation that Jesus did, Jesus didn't overpay. God didn't overpay, because he paid just enough to make sure that I was saved, that Cole was saved, that Jackson was saved, that Walt was saved. He paid the right price because he calculated our worth properly. So
That's good.
he didn't do everything out of a show. But not only do we see compensation without calculation, but secondly, in verses 3 and 4, we see application without affirmation. Application without affirmation. Verses 3 and 4 read just thus: but then when thou doest your good deeds, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms or your good deeds may be in secret, and that thy Father which can see what's done in secret can reward you openly. We have the second handicap, which is application without affirmation. Somebody shout affirmation.
Affirmation.
Affirmation, or marturomai in Greek, means to seek a witness to testify or to praise you or to boost yourself up through words. Listen, in the text, he was simply saying, listen, don't tell everybody what you're doing just so they can put you up. Don't tell everybody what you're doing so you can put you up. But do it when ain't nobody looking. Do it when ain't nobody watching you, so that when God sees you, he can reward you. And there's the common problem that we have now. I guess I'm going to talk for the pastors and speak for them. I ain't got to stay here, so I can say it. We want to tell the pastor and the preacher how much he gonna get for his salary. Yet we want to go and assess the value of what he does because we think all he does is get up on Sunday morning and preach a sermon for 45 minutes to an hour. We think he comes in and teaches on Wednesday night for a few minutes, and that's all we want to pay him for. But yet you did not see the studying he did Sunday night through Saturday morning, trying to make sure you were all right, so that Saturday night he could rest. So early Sunday morning he could get up praying for you when you were asleep, not even praying for yourself, and we think he don't need that money. That was for somebody else. That wasn't for me. I'm sorry. Listen, don't run me out. I apologize. But we have application without affirmation. And we have this because we need to really find out in the church, Dr. Cole, if we are churchy or Christ-like. We need to find out if we are churchy or Christ-like. How? Because affirmation is simply saying that you want somebody to speak highly of you. Or you want to speak highly of yourself. Just to be seen. Like a lot of hypocrites do, you know, we want folks to boost us up. And I hate it when I get boosted up too high. Because an old preacher once told me, listen, don't let nobody put you on a pedestal, because once they put you up there, you ain't got nowhere to go but down. You have to be careful how you let folks talk about you and put you up, because people are going to expect that you do that every time. And just as soon as you mess up and don't do what people expect you to do, especially in the church house, people will start talking about you, writing your name on the wall, running your name down the street, spreading rumors, crucifying you just like they did Jesus, because you didn't live up to the expectation of some folks because of what somebody said about you. We have to see if we are churchy or Christ-like. I'm almost through with this point. I'm almost through with the sermon, but we have to see if we're churchy or Christ-like, because in the church, we want everyone to praise us. We want you to call our name. We want you to recognize us every time we do something. Sister Green made the potato salad for the funeral. Ain't nobody in Sister Green family died, but we want to recognize Sister Green because she made the... I'm sorry. Warm up the columns and then go. Listen, we want to recognize folks who it ain't got nothing to do with nobody, but they just want their name called because they are churchy or religious and not Christ-like. We mess up with that because, listen, in the Bible, if you read your Bible, that's why we come to Sunday school, that's why we go to Bible study. Remember I said last night, some folks only read their Bible when I read the text. Some folks only read their Bible when they did the responsive reading. But if you read and study your Bible, you'll find out something about Jesus that we often look over. Jesus was very humble. You remember when Jesus rode into Jerusalem, he didn't ride on a horse. He rode on a donkey. Remember when Jesus was born, he wasn't born at St. Dominic's. He wasn't born at the Children's Hospital. He wasn't born at the University Hospital. He was born in a manger outside in a hog trough. You know, he was humble. Remember when he was healing the woman with the issue of blood, he said, listen, you ain't got to tell nobody what I've done. Go in peace. Remember when he healed the leper, he said, show yourselves to the priest. Don't tell anybody of what I've done. Yet they went and told it. Anyway, we have to be careful to make sure that we're humble and not doing stuff just to be seen, because when we are humble, we don't have to speak and say what we are.
Preach word. I like it.
Maybe our problem is we want to wear a sign on us that says Christians, but maybe if we were truly Christians, the actions, as Grandmama would say, something on the inside shows up on the outside. It doesn't be told on the outside, it shows up on the outside. So maybe instead of telling folks I'm a Christian, you ought to start living like one, besides on Sunday morning. Oh, you know, we got some Sunday morning Christians, you know, 9:30, they put on their clothes, they put on their suit, comb their hair, put the shoes on, they come in church. Oh, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. When they leave church Saturday, Sunday evening, listen, you ain't worth 2 pennies, you ain't worth nothing. Don't act like y'all don't know them folk. Churchy or Christ-like? Are we simply churchy on Sunday mornings, or does it show constantly?
My God, my God.
That's a handicap to hypocritical holiness, because we have application without affirmation. How? Because remember, Jesus was the one who nobody liked. Remember, the church folk didn't like Jesus when he healed the lame man. They said he was doing it out of demons. They called him the prince. He was saying that he was working with the demons, and they even called him a blasphemer because he forgave sins, and they said you ain't worth nothing. But yet remember what God said when the dove came out of the sky. This is my son in whom I'm well pleased. I stopped by Cornerstone to ask you tonight, whose glory are you looking for? You're looking for other people's praise, or are you looking to see that God is happy with your life? Too many times in church, we come to church Sunday after Sunday worried about what somebody else is going to say about us, worried about if we're going to get our name put on the Sunday school board, wondering if we're going to get our name at work put on the Employee of a Month plaque. But we have to understand, listen, all of those awards, recognition, accolades don't mean a thing if your name is not in good standing with the Lord. I'm getting out of here. We first saw compensation without calculation. And then we saw application without affirmation. But lastly, we see expectation without sanctification. Expectation without sanctification. Somebody shout expectation. Expectation, we know, we think of the word spectate or spectator, but parateo in the Greek means to pay attention to, pay high regard to, or observe very closely to the appearance. I'm going somewhere with this. When we think of spectating, we think of going to the ball game. And I can remember summer after summer, when fall would come, I'd get excited because it was time to come to Jackson for the Capital City Classic.
Watch yourself.
And there's a period in the game called the fifth quarter where the bands would start to play.
Yeah.
And everybody would turn their heads to the bands and would watch closely what everyone else did. They would pay quick attention to the people as they marched down onto the field. They would pay special attention to the drum line so that when they got back to their own schools, they could do what the other person did. They could look just like Jackson State. They could look like Alcorn State. They could look like Valley. They could do all of these things, but they were only looking at the appearance of those people.
That's good.
The problem with that is we have too many people in church who are so caught up on their appearance.
I hear you.
That they have no sanctification, because what I found out, Dr. Jackson, is that a lot of our church folk are only saved on the outside. We can go to the Galleria at North Park Mall. We can go in there in Charlotte Russe and buy up plenty clothes. We can go to the Stacey Adams store. We can buy some nice shoes, Ferragamos. We can buy a $300 suit tailor-made to fit our bodies just perfectly. We can go get Brazilian, Remy, whatever wig, whatever weave you choose to get. Your nails are done, your hair is laid, fried and dyed to the side. But listen, when all that passes away, what are you?
That's good. That's
just
good.
In case. You know, we buy cars just so somebody can look at us drive down the highway and say, well, they must got it going on. We buy Mercedes, Alexas, you know. Oh, y'all don't know like that. Preachers come to the convention wearing their best suits and they buy their best clothes lying because their church really got 60 members, but they say they got 6,000 just so they can appear that they are better than they really.
Preacher!
Somebody online ain't gonna like what I just said, but I don't care. They ain't got to see me. Listen, the problem with churches is we are so caught up in the way things look that we are not caught up enough in the way things really are. We have to be careful because there are people in church who have to seem important for somebody else. You know, they won't do nothing for the workshop unless you put their name on the program. Some of the folks, when the superintendent didn't put their name on the program, they ain't been here yet. They mad too, I don't care. We have to be careful because there are people in church who seem like they have to have an audience to do anything.
My God.
You know, that one deacon that prayed his prayer for 35 minutes, maybe because he ain't prayed all week long and he tried to get it in on Sunday morning. Or that one church choir member that want to sing her song only when you go somewhere, only when the church is full, but when pastor really needs some help with the service because it's dead, oh, something wrong with my voice today, I can't sing. You know, we got those type of folks who only are worried about what people see of them or how highly people think of them, but yet they are not saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost on the inside. You need to ask your neighbor, are you faithful or are you famous? Faithful or famous? Are you only doing something just when people are watching you, or when you do that same thing when no one is paying attention? Look at the text. It says, listen, when you pray is enter into thy prayer closet and shut thy door. That simply means ain't nobody gonna be in there with you when you go in your prayer closet. Can't nobody hear you when you go in your prayer closet. Ain't nobody watching you, praising you when you go into your prayer closet. That is your alone time with God. Are you still gonna do the things at home that you do the things on the outside? Are you still going to do the things at your church that you do when you go and put on a show at somebody else's church? Are you doing things to be faithful, or are you doing them to be famous? But the last question that I want to ask before I close is, are you real or are you religious? Are you real or are you religious? Preacher, what do you mean? Am I real or am I religious? Listen, we have this saying, listen, if me and Cole get into it, and Cole says something crazy to me, most Christians would say this, listen, Cole, if you don't leave me alone, you're going to make me lay my religion down. But see, with a religion, you can lay it down, and when you feel like you're done doing what all you're going to do, you can grab it back and pick it back up again like you had it the whole time. But with a relationship, you know, we got those family members who we don't like to claim because of what they've done, no matter if we like to claim them or not, because we have a relationship through blood, whether we like it or not, whether it's convenient for us or not. We can't deny the fact that we have a relationship with them. So I'm asking, are you real? Because some of us only have a relationship with God when we want to, when it's convenient for us, or when somebody is watching us. But then some of us have a relationship with God where you can start running and ain't nobody chasing you. Somebody has a relationship with God where you can be crying and you ain't sad. Somebody has a relationship with God where you can be smiling and your bills are due. Somebody has a relationship with God to where you can shout and dance and ain't no music playing. Are you real or are you religious? So, I'm through.
What happened to you, brother?
Time
Look at you.
has been
Look out. Look out.
well spent.
Don't do it.
I got to leave you.
Don't leave me, Reverend.
I am not a native of Jackson, Mississippi. My dog is waiting on me at the house. So I got to bid you farewell because I like to fast before I preach. And when I know I have done what the Lord said do, my stomach starts to growl. And listen, it's talking to me, so I got to get on out your way. But listen, I'm going to close here now. When I tell you compensation without calculation, God doesn't do that. I've told you, about the handicaps to hypocritical holiness. Yes, but I think I ought to tell you about the contrast to that situation. In compensation, oh Lord, God went to the store one day to make a purchase. Well, what was he buying? I tell you, he was buying a little old man by the name of Annanias' word. Well, when he walked into, the worldly dealership, the world told him, word ain't worth nothing but a filthy rag. Ain't God all right? Well, he decided that he wanted to get a little more bang for his buck. So he said, listen, I want to add coal just to the equation because the currency that I'm paying in ain't going to pay for just word alone. Well, he decided that coal and word wasn't enough by themselves. So he added Jackson and Mo. Ain't God all right? And then he decided that them four wasn't worth the currency that he was paying in. He decided to add Jackson, Mississippi to the list to see if the currency he was paying in would be worth the bang for the buck. I come to tell you, Jackson even wasn't worth that currency. Ain't God all right? He added those 6 million Christians Cole was talking about, and then he decided that the currency was still too much. Well, he had a check only, so he couldn't take nothing off of the check that he had wrote down. So he couldn't take nothing out of it, and he couldn't add nothing to it. Well, I come to tell you, he decided that, oh Lord, that he would take the world, and add them to that deal that he made. Ain't God all right? Well, you're asking me what kind of currency was he paying in? I come to tell you, if you take your American dollar, the nation will tell you that the value may rise and the value may fall. So when he went to the dealership to purchase old word, he didn't take no American dollar. Well, what did he take? If he didn't take an American dollar, how did he pay for you? I come to tell you tonight, Grandmama had this saying, the blood that Jesus said way back on Calvary, it will never lose its power. It won't go down and it won't depreciate. Compensation with his calculation. He decided, oh Lord, to take his blood, shed it for me, break his body, shed it for you, crown of thorns upon his head. Ain't God all right? I'm feeling happy in here, but I got to tell you how God applied his affirmation to his application. Well, I ought to tell you, when he got up on the Calvary hill, he said 2 things. If I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. Ain't God all right? Well, I think I ought to tell you, how did he get some more affirmation? Because if you remember him hanging there from the 6th to the 9th hour, the centurion soldier, he said, must be the Son of God. That was an affirmation. Ain't God all right? But I think I ought to tell you about his expectation with his sanctification. When he got up on that cross, all of the people there had their attention facing Calvary, because the Bible says that the earth went into an epileptic seizure. The sky, teary eyes begin to cry. Ain't God all right? The thunder rolled and the lightning raged. So everybody had to look at the cross. That was his expectation. But I think I ought to tell you, he had sanctification. How? Because he was saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. How do I know it? Because when the job was done, he looked up toward heaven. He said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Ain't God all right? Shake your neighbor's hand. Shake it like a child of God. Shake them and rock them and shake them. Tell them, neighbor, I'm bought with a price. Neighbor, Jesus saved my life. Neighbor, I feel happy in here. I got to come on down. I got to come on down. Because listen, when I think of the goodness of Jesus, it'll make me want to hop. It may make me want to run. But when I start thinking about what he done for me, I got to get down on my rusty knees and tell the Lord, thank you, sir. You've been good. You've been good to me. Anybody know Jesus? Does anybody know Jesus? Shake your neighbor's hand one more time. Shake them and rock them and shake them. Say, neighbor, you should know Jesus. He did it for me. He can do it for you. Has he done it for you? Yeah. I think I ought to tell you how the story ends. Friday night, he laid in Jacob's tomb. Saturday night, he laid in Jacob's tomb. But early Sunday morning, what did he do? He got up on the resurrection ground with all power, power in his hands. Ain't God all right? I think I ought to tell you, that ain't even how the story ends. He had one more chance of expectation. Why? Because 40 days later, in a little town called Bethany, he stepped up. Remember, I told you, you gotta be careful about wanting other folks' praise and other folks' elevation. Well, I'm staying in a hotel this week, and when I got to the hotel, I walked in. They told me my room was on the 5th floor. They said if you go to the right, you'll find the elevator there. I opened the door to the elevator. I looked down and I saw 2 stairs. I saw 2 lines, meaning one goes up and one comes down. When people elevate you, they can put you up there and take you back down. But when God elevates you, remember what he did for Jesus. He walked up on that cloud there at Bethany. I wish y'all had helped me here. He stepped up on the cloud, and no matter how high God took him up, could no devil in hell bring him down. Are you doing things as a hypocrite, or are you doing it out of holiness? Ain't God all right? Ain't God all right? If God has been good to you, shout yeah, shout yeah. Oh. I feel all right. I said I feel all right.